Hey, good evening. We're back.
You hear me okay now?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Um,
How's it going?
I've kind of been having a hard time creating the report, and I'm just not getting it, and I guess I'm getting a little frustrated over there, but then I could take a couple steps back, and I just gotta read everything for a few times just so I can get grasp around it what I'm supposed to do. I mean, so it's that's the problem I think I'm having, that's been going on for a couple weeks now.
Okay. We can definitely address that and
Because you're
draw it.
you're supposed to be able to write that report without doing this cutting and pasting and doing this. I mean, because that's not the right way to do it. I mean, you get you gotta do it out of your own mind and when you're writing these things up. Sure, you can use Chat GPT to, you know, fine tune things, but I I got to be able to learn this.
Okay. Well, we'll go through it and we'll see where you're getting hung up.
Okay.
Um, how's it going, Jalen?
Hello, William. How you doing?
Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. So it looks like as of right now, all tools are up and running with the exception of Sockbite. Was Sockbite, excuse me, with the exception of QRadar.
Q radar wasn't working either for me.
No, okay.
Everything
Um,
is
when was the last time it was working? Was it working at all this week? Or excuse me, last week?
last week it worked. But it seemed like I think Wednesday was the last time I accessed it last week.
All right. So go ahead and get started. Um, let's see, we have yeah, share my screen and we'll jump right in. Tor, make sure you're signing into the chat too. So don't
I
forget to
know I keep forgetting to do that. I'm sorry about that.
set a reminder on your phone. Don't forget.
Yep, I will.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let me know if you all can see my screen.
Yeah, perfect.
You guys can see my screen?
Not
Mm,
yet.
not-
Oh,
Okay. Yep, here we go.
okay.
Now we go. Yep.
All righty. All right. So welcome to the turnover report for September 2nd. Shift lead is myself. Looks like we have Jalen and Tor on the call. As far as system health checks, we have CrowdStrike and SockBite up and running, with the exception of QRadar seems to be down at the moment. I'm not going to go over general announcements because everything else is pretty standard, but I will mention the content. Before we dive into things tonight, I'm going to do a heat check and make sure that everybody is doing what they need to do in regards to their content, specifically YouTube. I want to see you guys posting YouTube videos and then have the content trickle down from there, as well as your job trackers. So we'll circle back to that in a minute. I see that we have cyber threat intelligence, two articles here listed. Are these new or old? Do you happen to know, Jalen?
They're old. They're
Yeah.
old. Pretty old.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do, because if I open these up, okay, I don't even know who put them here, but I'm gonna remove them. Let me open this one. Yeah, so whoever put these here, who is this? Didn't do it correctly because we can't view them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove them. No tuning recommendations at this time. We still have the sanitation run book here, hyperlink just for reference, but I think you guys got the hang of that. Looks like we have a few open cases here. Was Renee on yesterday or last week at all?
Yeah, she was on last week. I know
Yeah,
that
yeah.
quite a
Okay.
few
I
times.
just want to make sure that people are actually like, showing up. I'm gonna remove Lamar since I haven't seen him, but yeah, just want to make sure we're sticking to SLAs. When we talk about SLAs, that stands for service level agreement. If you don't know that, write it down, because SLA, you can have an SLA with respect. This is important, guys. But an SLA stands for a service level agreement. And that essentially outlines the parameters. Let's say you're working for a client and you're monitoring their environment. They may want you to respond to all critical alerts within 15 minutes, meaning as soon as that alert comes in, it's assigned within 15 minutes and start the investigation starting. And we can talk about metrics and, mean time to assign, which is your MTTA, versus mean time to investigate versus mean time to remediate, or your MTTR. Those are metrics, very important metrics, that every single SOC manager is going to want to know the numbers. They're going to want to know those metrics because they have to use those metrics to present in their weekly, monthly reports to the director, CISO, and ultimately the client, because that's how they gauge whether or not the SOC that the company or client is paying for is, worth its weight in gold, so to speak, right? Because if you have metrics that say, well, we're not responding to alerts, and, they're not getting assigned for on average of 2 hours, or let's say, the average time to remediate is 24 hours, the client's going to be like, well, what are we really paying for here? So on average, I want to say a high performing SOC is going to have a MTTA, which stands for what, Jalen?
Said metric time. I forgot. No. Oh,
This is the same
mean
thing.
time.
Mean time to assign. Okay.
Okay.
Mean time to assign. I'm going to ask you this next week, Tor. I hope you remember it. So the MTTA is the mean time to assign. So that's when an alert pops off in the queue, how long it takes for you to assign it to yourself. Basically telling the customer, it takes us on average 15 minutes from when an alert pops to someone is on it, right? That's your MTTA. Your MTTI is your mean time to investigate. That is the average time it takes for the team to investigate from alert to performing the whole triage, incident response investigation. So your MTTI is your mean time to investigate. And on average, a high performing SOC is going to hit somewhere between 40 to 50 minutes. All right. And that leads me to our last metric, which is our mean time to remediate. All right. So your MTTR, which is the average time of the whole incident response lifecycle from alert popping off to remediation, essentially closing the actual alert, right? Including like the report. And so that's somewhere between, I want to say around on average 50 minutes. And that's a high performing SOC with, a pretty large amount of endpoints and, a complex enterprise environment.
Mhm.
So the reason why I'm mentioning all that is because you want to understand what the SLAs are, because you have to stay in compliance. A lot of customers will have a financial penalty if you're not meeting SLA. And so these weekly and monthly reports that the manager is going to be curating based upon the numbers that are within the tools are going to hold weight on those calls. Because if we're not hitting our SLAs, and let's say we have a SLA of 15 minutes for critical, 30 minutes for high, 1 hour for medium, and 24 hours for low, right? Then if we're not hitting those SLAs, then we can be penalized financially. Meaning if the customer is paying us, $250,000, a quarter or a month or whatever the breakdown is, there could be significant financial penalties on the back end. So, they take that really seriously. So you need to understand SLAs, and you need to understand metrics that managers are staying on top of and that they care about. The sooner that you can understand metrics and the sooner that you can wrap your mind around why they're important, which is associating the technical skills with the business functionality, that's where you start to become a very valuable analyst to your team.
Right.
All right, moving on from that. I want to go ahead and just open the floor. Any questions from yesterday, last week? Tor, I already know you're struggling with some of the reporting, so we're gonna circle back to that in a moment. Outside of that, any other questions?
No.
No question.
Okay, cool. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and share some of my most recent output in regards to what I'm doing for content, in regards to YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm sure you guys have been seeing me post stuff in the chat. So I want to just go ahead and share that with you guys so you can get a look at what I'm doing and maybe get inspired in some way, shape, or form. So I'm gonna go to my YouTube first. Now, this is why online branding is so important, because a lot of times you could be posting valuable content, but right, if it doesn't pack a punch, that's one thing. But it needs to also, look good, right? Your content and the aesthetic is important. So you guys can see my screen right here. I created these thumbnails. And all I really did was I recorded what we've gone over on some of these meetings, and which is extremely valuable. It's funny because this only had like 3 views yesterday. Now it's up 20 views, which doesn't seem like much, but these are real people. So essentially, this could be like 20 new sales if these people convert. But the point I'm mentioning is I created and designed these thumbnails in Canva, and I'll just kind of show you what you can do, what's possible. And so something like this, right? So here's an example of the thumbnail that I created for what we call our Cyber Monday series. All right. An inside look at real threats, people, and tools. That kind of summarizes, what we talk about on these calls. And I think it was important to kind of highlight. The other thing I wanted to, so this is content you guys should be doing on a regular basis, and creating a thumbnail is very aesthetically pleasing. So you'll start to see, as opposed to just having videos like this, right? You'll start to see how this is, beneficial in the long term. And just to show you for context, I'll show you a page I follow. I'm sure you guys may have heard me talk about before, and the page is called Earn Your Leisure. Earn Your Leisure.
Yeah.
I'm actually subscribed to them on my personal page. So if you look here on their page, you can see how they have a lot of different like styles. There's a kind of like a style convention. You can see here with their Market Mondays podcast that I was inspired by, right? So that is really important in regards to the aesthetic. The other thing I wanted to share is this post that I just created a couple minutes ago. I dropped it in the chat. If you guys can do me a favor and go like, comment, and share, I would greatly appreciate it. But right here is the post. I created a thumbnail for that, which is Grow Your LinkedIn in 2026. And I talked about a job offer that literally came up a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if you guys saw, but if I scroll back in my content, I'll show you guys what I experienced a couple weeks ago. I'll just go to my activity, right? And I'll just go to show all posts. Okay. And what you'll see when I scroll here is I actually shared a screenshot from a recruiter. And then 5 minutes after I shared it, okay, I got a call immediately. So I'm going to show you right now. I think it was, no, it's not this one. It was, it's got to be on here somewhere. Oh, you know what? I know why it's not on here. Because I didn't actually share. I shared it on Instagram, and I didn't share it on LinkedIn. And the reason why was because I was literally speaking to the individual in real time. And so I didn't want to do anything to necessarily spook the recruiter by sharing our conversation and screenshotting it, in real time so that they would see it on LinkedIn. So I shared it on Instagram, but I think I have it here on my phone just so I can go back and reference this for you guys. Yeah, I think it's right here. So there was a couple of them that actually came through. And so anyway, but what ended up here it is. So I got this role that came from LinkedIn, where a recruiter reached out in regards to a SOC role. And so I responded and immediately got a call. Now, the call that I got was this recording right here. And so I literally outlined, this is part one. There's 2 parts. It was a 5-minute conversation I recorded. And I kind of broke it up into 2 sessions because I couldn't airdrop it from the phone I started recording with. But the point is, I outlined how these conversations go, and I'm just going to play it for you in real time. Can you guys hear
me? Yep, I hear you.
Yes,
Oh,
I hear.
I can hear you now. Sorry, can you just repeat what you said?
opportunity for the position of frequently, if you just send me your updated resume through LinkedIn, so
Yes.
we could time to talk to you regarding this role.
Yes, it's a great time.
So let me just make sure what
I
you know.
told you guys.
Application implemented by WWT worldwide technology. And if this is a remote opportunity for 6 months contract and the contract will be extended. We are looking for someone with strong experience with SOC, who also has experience with tools such as Curator and Cortex.R and similar tools experience, and also any scripting languages. So let me know if that has this experience.
Yeah.
So just to pause right there, they're looking for a SOC analyst, fully remote role, contract will extend, and they're looking for someone with QRadar and Cortex XOR experience or similar. By a show of hands on this call, how many of you have that experience?
Well, I mean, I've been using the
Go ahead and disqualify yourself before you even start, Tor. Go ahead.
Okay.
I asked you a simple question. How many of you have experience with QRadar, SOAR tools, and similar? How many of you have that experience?
I do.
Everybody does on this call. Stop eliminating yourself from the position before you even have an opportunity to speak to them. All right?
Right.
But they are looking for someone with QRadar, SOAR tool, which you guys use SockBite, not necessarily Cortex, but she said right after, or similar tools. All right? So I want you to keep on listening to what happens next.
Yes, actually, the last 10 years, I spent my entire career working in a SOC. So pretty much that includes everything within the full incident response management lifecycle, working with different SIM tools, EDR tools, SOAR tools. I've worked with them all, including QRadar. Yes.
Scripting language you have currently worked with?
Yes, so I have some scripting experience with Linux and Python.
Okay. Okay.
Now, even if you don't have significant scripting experience, it's okay to yes them, right? Walk them down essentially, because that's something that you're willing to learn. You don't have to line up to if there's 10 items that they're looking for, you don't have to have all 10. You got to have 7. And then you can still be able to get to the next round. At the end of the day, it all boils down to you being able to sell yourself to the person, not who's doing the phone screen initially, but the person who's going to be sitting across from you on the live interview, which is going to be the hiring manager or the tech team. Those are the people you want to be able to convince.
Okay. You do we have 49 and
Pay attention.
No, actually, I was expecting somewhere between 60 to 80. According to my experience, I've been doing this for like 10 years. So I typically am in that 60 to 80 range. What type of flexibility do you have there?
you do it somewhere around 55 kilo an hour. And if you have your own corporation, I can try somewhere around 57 an hour on C2C. Do you have your own corporation?
Yes, I do. So the key here, folks, is to never go with what they say. Okay. And the other part is always ask about the differential between W-2 and corp to corp because the rates are different. Sorry, can you say that one more time?
So 57 an hour on C2C is the rate we have on C2C.
So it went from 49 to 57 in 10 seconds.
That's good. That's
49 to
crazy.
57 in 10 seconds. Do you guys know how much of a difference that is in terms of an annual check? I'll tell you. I'll tell you right now. In 10 seconds, it went from 49 to 57. I'll tell you. $49 an hour times 2,080 hours is $101,920. Okay, $101,920. 57 times 2,080 is 118,560 minus 101,920. That's a differential of $16,640 in 15 seconds. Just from knowing what not to say and what to say, and being in a position to take advantage and capitalize in the moment. Okay? So I'm going to break that down one more time. It was $49 an hour W-2. That means you are an employee of the staffing firm, not the client. They're going to still offer you benefits and they're still going to pay you on a W-2, but it's still an hourly rate W-2. There is a thing, okay? And so, with that being said, she said we can do 55 W-2. We negotiated $6 just from saying, no, that's not okay, which is why you never state your rate first. We talked about that with respect to salary negotiation. But after I said, what about the corp to corp rate, which is something most people don't know about, if you have an LLC, doesn't have to be profitable, doesn't have to be public, doesn't have to be, all you need is an LLC with an EIN. If you have an LLC, you can qualify, if it's available, for a corp to corp rate, meaning their client is paying them, the staffing firm. That's how it works. And then the staffing firm typically pays you in the form of a W-2. If you have your own C2C or your own corporation, then it'll be corp to corp, meaning the staffing firm who's getting paid by the client is going to pay not just you, but your corporation. And so being that now they don't have to pay the benefits, you can get in demand a more higher hourly rate. Okay. And so that's where it goes from the 49 to 55 to 57. Doesn't seem like a lot, but we just created $16,000 in chains in 15 seconds.
To see if that is okay, I can go ahead and send you the information email.
Would you be able to bump it up to 60 C to C? Just so that I can be within that range that I was expecting?
So the rate is 56.
Okay. So here's another lesson here. They mentioned RTR, which is right to represent. When you're dealing with a staffing firm, you have to confirm and give them explicit permission to represent you on behalf of the client. So if they're paying you $57 an hour, they're probably charging the client $90 an hour. That's how the staffing firms get paid. They take the margin in between, right? Recruiters get a one lump sum. So if you're getting placed at, let's say, at $100,000 salary, a recruiter may get 20% of that. So the company will have to pay the recruiter $20,000 and then they go about their business. You work directly at the client. A staffing firm is slightly different. A staffing firm is going to take the spread or the margin. So if the staffing firm is paying you $50 an hour, they're most likely charging the client $80 an hour. They're probably getting almost as much money an hour as you're getting paid for them to place you at the client. It's ridiculous. A lot of money in staffing. But again, that was a video that I just literally shared a couple minutes ago. If you can do me a favor, I would appreciate it if you guys can go into the chat, our VSOC chat, click on that link and go ahead and drop a like and a comment on that video on LinkedIn. All that really matters. All of that really helps. And then what I'm also going to ask is that you guys do me a favor and subscribe to the company YouTube channel and my personal YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead and share those links right here now.
I'm already subscribed.
Oh, you're already subscribed, my man Jalen. All right, cool. I appreciate you. There's the YouTube for Cybersecurity. And then I'm going to go ahead and share it for my personal. Okay. Go ahead and share that now. There we go. If you guys can do me a favor, that would be great. Jalen, thank you. All right. Any questions on that? That's just a little update on what I've been working on in regards to content, and how I'm monetizing my brand and how I'm going to continue to add as much value as possible to my ecosystem and community. That is really, really, really important because if you're not doing that on a daily basis, it's going to be really, really hard for you guys to get a job. Extremely hard. Okay. So I need you guys to make sure that you're doing that. Tor, you still didn't sign in. I got to see you sign in, bro.
All right, hang on a second here.
So Jalen, I'm going to start with you while he's doing that. Show me what you've been working on, bro.
I've been working on trying to get that video out. I have a draft on Instagram.
What video?
A video going over a SOC incident
The one from last week or the week before?
the week before.
So 2 weeks old, you've been waiting. 2 weeks old, you're still trying?
Yeah.
Come on, Jalen.
I've been trying to like
It sounds like perfection in disguise, it sounds like perfection, which is really procrastination in disguise.
yeah,
That's what it
procrastinate.
sounds like. It sounds like you're trying to make it perfect or you don't have the confidence to post it. What's really going on? Like, what's really in your way?
What I've been trying to do is, you know how you said we had to like time it right, time the video right. Like when you like say for instance you got the case report and you have to time it with your voice, whatever. That's really my problem right now.
I mean, I don't think that's something that takes 2 weeks though,
True.
right?
Yeah.
Like just being honest. And I know what you're talking about because I've tried it. I've struggled with that too. And then, it's something that you really can figure out in like a couple minutes if you just kind of like muscle through it, right? But 2 weeks, man, that's I'm keeping it real with you guys. I'm never gonna lie to you. I'm never gonna sit here and, you know, just tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to help you guys
Yeah.
get to the next level, but I can't put a job offer, in your lap. I can't. You guys got to show up. I'm giving you all of the resources and the framework to get there.
Mhm.
That's how I get these calls. That's why it worked. But if you guys aren't executing, there's no such thing as trying. You either do or you don't do. And 2 weeks it falls into the category of not doing. So
True.
you guys got to really, really, really buckle up, or excuse me, buckle down and really start taking the content thing seriously. Doesn't have to be perfect, but 2 weeks, Jalen, that's not it, man. It's not gonna, I don't think, I think you got to reevaluate how seriously you want to take this thing. And if you really want to get to where you think you say you're trying to go, because that content is everything. You could be great and the world doesn't know you exist. I made that mistake for a very long time by not thinking that what I had was valuable. Now I knew I was good at what I do, and I got confirmation of that because I generated over 100 million in salary offerings myself. But in order to have a greater impact and help people like you and like Tor and others, I had to really, really believe in myself, and I had to really take myself seriously. And that came with consistency and discipline. That's why now here I am today, doubling down on my content, on my output, on the value that I'm giving, right? I want to say, mindful and intentional about what I'm putting out there, because the world can benefit from hearing what I have to say. And I can strengthen my ecosystem and my community, which is why last week we did a live open sock shift so that more people can kind of get eyes on what we're doing, and we can hopefully close more, more sales and help more people. But even with that being said, I can only take you so far. You guys are doing the job. That's why I said to her, look, listen, before you disqualify yourself, the lady's looking for someone with QRadar experience, SOAR experience, and similar. So before you say, well, like if you ever get in an interview and you ever say, well, I only have, just hang the phone up, because you're not even advocating for yourself. You're basically saying, well, I've used it, but I'm really not qualified enough to be, for this based upon what you're saying. So there's no reason for them to call you back. You have to come in with the confidence that even though you haven't been doing something for as long as somebody else, or apples to apples identify with what they're looking for in terms of years of experience, doesn't mean you're not good enough for the role. Doesn't mean you can't do the job, because a lot of times you can be, you could do something for a shorter period of time than somebody and still be more talented than them, right? And still be better than them, right? There's some people who are naturally talented, and then there's some people who have talent and they concatenate that with hard work. So you can outdo somebody all day long, right? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So you don't need to necessarily have 3 to 5 years of experience. I guarantee you 90% of the people applying for that job do not fit that mold. So the worst thing you can ever do is be like, yeah, well, I've only been using it for, a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure if I actually, that's the worst. Don't even have the call. I promise. Don't waste your time. So let's take that mindset, because this is a mindset problem. This is a mindset problem, nothing else. It's a confidence problem. Take that mindset, right? And just throw it overboard.
So when they're asking questions like that, you're just going to say, yeah, I have experience in all that.
Yes, exactly like I did. Did I say, well, no, I said, absolutely.
No.
I have 10 years of experience in the incident response lifecycle. I've used all of the tools, EDRs, SIM tools, XOR platforms. So that's all I've done throughout the last 10 years of my experience. She even asked me about scripting. I haven't scripted in 10 years. I haven't scripted in not one of my roles. That's why I just walked down the answer, because I knew that to do the job she's asking me to do, I don't need scripting experience.
Right.
So I just, yeah, sure, absolutely.
So she's just throwing that out there to see,
Just to catch all, just something that
to see if you're going to mess up or something.
exactly. And a lot of times the client, they always have like these outrageous expectations. Doesn't mean that that's what they're going to get. Right? To do a SOC role in 2025, you do not need scripting experience. But if you're willing to learn it, just say yes anyway. But
So
you got to come in with that level of confidence.
So scripting is like a programming language.
Essentially.
Okay.
Look, think of it as CQL. Do you know how when we're doing a sweep within our CrowdStrike advanced event search environment, how we build out that query and then we
Yes.
list out, right? That's scripting.
Okay.
It's a different form because we're using a specific language that is native to CrowdStrike. So it's called CQL. In QRadar, you have KQL. In Splunk, you have SPL. Those are different programming interface languages that are associated with each one of those, or I want to say correspond to those specific technologies. Now, other scripting languages like Bash, you have Python, Perl, JavaScript, Java, Ruby on Rails. There's so many different programming languages out there, but it's really the most important thing that you can learn how to do with regards to scripting and programming is know how to navigate the Linux terminal or the command line. And there's some basic commands that you can use and learn within a few weeks to navigate a Linux terminal and command line and be able to do what it is that they're asking. Yeah, that is the truth. So mindset is everything. Take the disbelief, take the lack of confidence, take the doubt, throw it overboard, or just close your laptop and walk out and don't waste your time. You have to be your biggest advocate. Do not count yourself out or sell yourself short, because if you don't believe in you, no one else's responsibility is to believe in you. So you never disqualify yourself before you get an opportunity, okay? Always come in head high, chest out, overconfident, because you guys are doing the job on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so with that being said, now we did some reprogramming. All right, now I want to go ahead and pivot to you, Tor, and I want to talk about where you're getting held up. I want you to share your screen, and I want you to walk me through the incident. I don't want you to overcomplicate this. You got to stop doing that the perfectionism thing as well. You're not going to get everything right the first time. And I advised you from the beginning to use and leverage the AI so that you can work smarter and not harder. While you're getting started and you're learning, the AI is going to help you understand the context and the framework around what it is that we're doing. So yes, you do want to be able to conduct the hunt without using AI, but that doesn't mean that you aren't going to use AI to learn. It's going to help you shorten the curve. And eventually, once you do this a little bit more than, I don't know, for 4 weeks, then you'll start to see how this really starts to grasp and how you can start to then be able to pull from your data bank and not have to rely on AI so heavily dependent.
All right. You see everything?
Yes.
So I'm just having a hard time when I'm reading through all this. I don't understand how I make the report.
Okay.
I mean, it's almost like I know when I was younger, you needed when you read something, it's who, what, where, why, how, and when.
Good. I'm glad you know that. That's called the bottom line up front, bluff. Bottom line up front, who, what, when, where, why, and how. So
after I left my conversation yesterday, I started thinking about that, and I go, that's what I probably need to start doing.
Correct. So let's just, before we go through this article, let's take a step back. What are we trying to accomplish? What type of report are we writing? Is this an advisory? Is this a threat hunt? What is it?
It's an advisory.
It's an advisory. Okay.
Yes.
So an advisory in layman's terms is there's a vulnerability for a particular tool, right? And so how we refer to these vulnerabilities, this is a term everyone should know. It's kind of like TTPs when we refer to the MITRE framework. Yeah. The TTPs are
Mhm.
tactics, techniques, and procedures. And that framework, the MITRE attack framework, is used to map those TTPs to actual detections in the tools. So when we respond in CrowdStrike to suspicious PowerShell process, right? Those TTPs are what map to that use case alert. Just want to make some correlation there and make sure that those dots connect. Now, when it comes to an advisory is a report that is specifically geared towards a vulnerability, which we refer to as CVEs. CVEs are common vulnerabilities and exposures. Okay. Those common vulnerabilities and exposures have a risk score associated with them: low, medium, high, critical, which determines the impact of that vulnerability. So here's an example. Let's say that there is a vulnerability impacting Windows 10, Windows 11. That would be a significant vulnerability, especially if it's deemed a critical, because 90%, maybe more, 95% of the world is using the Windows operating system. Let's take it a step further. Last year, CrowdStrike had a significant outage, which basically caused the whole world to come offline. I don't know if you guys remember that, but flights were delayed. Literally cars were stopped in the street, banking, everything, everyone was impacted, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. You guys remember that last year?
I don't know.
I remember it.
You
I
remember it, Jalen?
Yep.
All right. So last year, let me see, what date was the CrowdStrike outage? I want to say it was July 19th, 2024. Okay. That's when CrowdStrike distributed a faulty update to
Yeah.
its Falcon sensor, which is the tool we use,
Mhm.
that caused widespread problems with Microsoft Windows computers running that software. Now, the reason why people thought they were hacked, they weren't hacked. It was a faulty update that they rolled out, which affected Windows operating system. And so the reason why that was such a big deal is because 95% of the world runs Windows. So that morning, everybody got a blue screen of death and people thought, the United States was being hacked, right? Because everything was down, systems were down. And so that ties me back into the point I was trying to make. These CVEs have a corresponding severity label, right? Low, medium, high, critical, which
Mhm.
ultimately translate to the impact for that particular vendor or product. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So your goal is to write an advisory report that is geared towards a particular vulnerability, which in this case, just from looking at this image on the screen, looks like Citrix is the software that is experiencing this vulnerability, just from what I can see. And it looks like there are a couple different vulnerabilities in question here. Now, the CVE we know stands for Common Vulnerability and Exposure. We know that the 2025 is standing for the year that it was reported, and then those numbers, those 4 numbers that are appended at the end, have to do with that particular vulnerability, right? So that's the naming convention of a CVE. Okay, no problem. And then it looks like there's some sort of memory overflow leading to remote code execution and denial of service. Right there in that first CVE, if you go into MITRE, if you're not sure what a remote code execution or denial of service is, those are tactics and techniques in the MITRE framework. So those are exactly what they sound like. Remote code execution and denial of service are different attacker tactics and techniques. That is what they are trying to accomplish. So when an adversary achieves remote code execution, that is a very bad thing. That means that the systems were compromised and an attacker was able to remotely execute code, okay? And the denial of service tactic is where an attacker has successfully taken a server down. Because when you have a denial of service, think of you as trying to get into your house, but your key's not working. Why isn't your key working? Because somebody switched the locks. Denial of service. Can't get in. Right? And so
Right.
there's different tactics and techniques to successfully achieve remote code execution and denial of service attacks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's why we reference that MITRE ATT&CK framework. So as you're going through this report, what you're trying to take note of is the software or the vendor that is impacted, the vulnerabilities and the corresponding severity, which highlight the keyword impact. And you want to make sure that you capture any other relevant information, right? Do we have it attributed to a specific threat actor? Do we have the versions of the software or operating system that's impacted? Is there a recommendation or mitigation that was shared with us, or is it still ongoing? These are the types of things that we want to capture in this report. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to understand every concept or term that you come across, because that's just not realistic. I'm not even going to understand, or I'm not going to be able to recognize every single term or concept in this article. I'm going to have to look up NetScaler. What's NetScaler used for? Okay, it's used for a gateway, blah, 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 right? But that's the mindset. That's why I said the context is more important than the actual content. The context is the guardrails, it's the framework, it's the blueprint that you're going to use to fill out the information in this report. So does that make any more sense compared to what you were 5 minutes ago?
It does, but it's I'm still a little bit lost in that area there. So I mean, I don't know how I'm gonna get this in my head, because I mean, I get to where, where the CVEs are, it's a memory, it's a denial of service. But then when you start going a little bit lower and asking what NetScaler is, these version numbers, I mean, I'm getting lost of how am I going to make this report?
Okay. So I think one thing that you can do to help you while you go through this process is to take an already done and complete advisory report and reverse engineer the process. So
Exactly, that's what I need. I need to know the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's what I'm not being able to do.
okay, so you don't have a reference of a recent within SockBite, you haven't found a completed advisory report?
I I don't have one. No, I haven't completed. I haven't completed
Not
a
you,
report at
not
all.
you. I didn't say you. I said a reference. So in SockBite, if you go into threat intelligence, you can go to closed, and then you can click on an advisory. I'm in there right now. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. You can keep sharing your screen. You don't have to stop sharing your screen. Just we'll switch
Okay.
in. But right now within SockBite, I'm going to show you when you log in, you're in the dashboard. So if you click on threat intelligence and then you go to closed, right here, I can see 3 advisories that are done. 3 of them.
Okay.
Right? Here's one. There's another. Here's another. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 reports that are completed that you can choose from. So let's choose this one. Analysis summary, impact affected products, CVEs. Who did this one? This one was done by, I want to say you, Jalen, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that
So
was for me. Yeah.
okay.
Maybe around
So
yeah.
here's an intel report, threat advisory for a critical, which is obviously the worst, think of it on a score of 1 through 10, it's a 10. 10-year-old round cube webmail bug that allows authenticated user to run malicious code. So a decade-old round table vulnerability opens up the door to remote code execution. All right. Looks like Jalen put a summary together. So just breaking this down in very logical, digestible pieces, Tor, right? You can see here that there's a couple things that we're looking for. Now I'm going to build the framework for you so you can stop being confused and we can get you from point A to Z, which is where you're trying to go. All right. So the first section that you need to be able to summarize is a summary, which is a high-level overview, bottom line up front, who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? We typically start out with a date, and then like we mentioned this CVE, and you can see here he says on June 2nd. No, I'm going to say the following CVE was disclosed as a critical vulnerability in RoundCube webmail, which is the software or the vendor of the product, allowing, which is now we're talking about the impact, post-authenticated remote code execution via PHP object deserialization in the upload.php file. Now, I don't necessarily know what that is, so I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Oh my God, this is so hard. Like, no, we're just talking about the context here, right? We have a date, we have a CVE, and then we talk about the affected product, vendor, or software, and then the impact. All right. So what is it? It allows post-authenticated remote code execution. To me, that sounds like somebody was authenticated, a user's authenticated, and then is able to remote code execute via using this vehicle, PHP object deserialization in the upload.php file. So the upload.php file is the vehicle that they're exploiting. Okay. Given RoundCube's history of being targeted by state-sponsored threat actors like APT28 and APT28, the following CVE poses a high risk, really critical risk, because that's what it was, determined. So we have a corresponding attributed threat actor, which is APT28. For those of you who don't know, APT stands for Advanced Persistent Threat. It is typically associated with a nation state sponsored hacker. So that's typically, a country that's behind the APT, not just like a criminal organization or a group of kids in their basement. It's actual like a North Korea, a Russia, a China, let's just say, Iran. So that's typically what an APT is. So it's a state sponsored or, a government funded adversary, which is pretty bad. That's why it's a critical. All right. So the first section, do we understand that? A summary. Now, you can take that article, throw it in GPT. Hey, give me a high-level, digestible summary of this CVE advisory. Throw that in GPT. Now you got it. Now, you do that enough, Tor, you'll start to get the hang of it. You'll start to be able to understand what it is that you're looking for, what's important, and what's not. Are we good to go? Can we move on to the next section? Or do you have any questions?
Yes, I understand that part now. Okay.
Cool. My man. All right. So the next section that we're concerned with, we're just going through the framework, think of context, not content, is the impact. This is arguably the most important section in the advisory and in cybersecurity in general. Impact is what everybody is concerned with. What is the impact? If the impact is significant, the severity is going to be raised. If it's critical, the impact's going to be significant, right? So impact here, we have notated as remote code execution, right? And in order to obtain or achieve remote code execution, there's a series of tactics, techniques, and procedures which map to the what? MITRE framework that an adversary has to implement successfully in order to obtain remote code execution, email data breach, lateral movement, and supply chain threat. So that's the impact of this vulnerability, all right? Whenever there's a vulnerability, think of a bug. Think of a flaw in the system. And then it's our job as security professionals to patch that bug as soon as possible to mitigate the impact. Fair enough?
Yes.
All right. So the impact is what we're all concerned with because that ultimately is going to attribute to what? Dollars, money. Now, the affected product. This is easy. This is the software operating system or vendor that was impacted by the vulnerability. When I talked about the Windows operating system with CrowdStrike last year in July, right, the affected product would have been CrowdStrike's Falcon sensor and Windows operating systems.
This part I know how to do because you go to the CVE's website, you put that number in, you can get the description, and if there's 3 CVEs, you got to add them in independently.
There you go. So this is fairly easy just to be able to identify what the affected product, operating system, software, or vendor is. Okay, that's your affected product.
And they tell you all that in the description in the CVE's website.
See, look at you teaching me something now.
Well, that part I got down. That's the easiest part. The
All
summary,
right.
the summary is always the hardest part for me.
That's always going to be the hardest part because you have to take technical, very technical information and you kind of have to dumb it down so that it's human readable language, right?
Right.
And you still doesn't mean you have to eliminate the technical vernacular completely, but it's hard to do. It's not easy.
No,
So
it's
it's not easy for anybody because
no.
I'm not looking at this stuff and saying, I know exactly what this is. I got to research. I got to look it up. So that's why I said, use the AI to your advantage. And you do this long enough, you'll start to be able to pick out, I know this is important. That's not important. I need this. I don't need that.
Okay.
You're new, man. That's it. You're new. I can't go out to sea on a commercial boat for a week and then say, hey, you know what, Tor? Go on vacation for 2 weeks. I got this. Right? In Alaska, nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Come on.
definitely not going to happen.
All right. So take it easy. Give yourself a break. All right. So CVEs, we know what that is. I just said it.
Yep.
I'm not going to go over into too much detail. Whatever common vulnerability exposure that we're capturing, you're going to document it here, the CVE number, the description, the publish date, if available, which it will be, and the CVS score. All right.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. Some of these reports aren't going to have all the information filled out for, maintenance windows where we've had issues with the platform, but have been since then fixed. Remediation is where we do the, the mitigation, remediation, implementation. So in order, and this is kind of like, I want to say, that's what I'm about to say right now is going to be applicable to every single advisory report. And that is the remediation is always going to be to patch the CVE as soon as possible, which essentially is to fix the bug, right?
Update, upgrade, or
Exactly.
what the
Exactly.
software. That's what they're all talking about.
Exactly. So upgrade round cube to v1.6.11 or v1.5.10. The latest version of round cube will be found here. Great. So we got to download a link, hyperlink, so that we can download the latest version. Now, in CrowdStrike's CrowdStrike's rollout, they rolled out a sensor that was faulty. And so how they mitigated it, and you can go do some research around this. I recommend that you do because it was so significant. Literally, the United States government thought we were being hacked, but it was really 95% of the world was taken down because we all use Windows and CrowdStrike. It was kind of the cat was let out the bag that CrowdStrike pretty much supports 95% of the entire US infrastructure. So
I wasn't paying attention to any of that. I was going through a shitty divorce.
Well, now you have some time to go through it.
Yep.
So just research it, ChatGPT it, get a high level overview. Hey, what happened? What was this all about? What were the remediations that they took to fix it? And essentially what they did is they didn't upgrade, they rolled back the patch. So essentially they rolled the version back so that didn't have the faulty, fixed the configuration.
Okay.
It fixed the configuration files that were faulty and they rolled it back so that there was no issue with Windows. So that's that. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it does.
All right.
A lot more sense.
Now, the most important part of this whole conversation, coming up on an hour, is and this is scientific research, right? This is proven facts. It was I want to see NTL Bethel Institute that came out with these metrics. And they basically said that, and I'll pull it up right here because I have it bookmarked. That's why it's so important. But the NTL Institute in Bethel, Maine came out with these metrics. And this is arguably the most important part of this conversation, Tor. But people retain 5%, only 5% of what they learn when they learn it from a lecture. Now, this isn't a lecture, but when someone's talking to you in a monotone voice for a significant period of time, it kind of feels like a lecture. So when you're in a lecture style setting, right, you're only going to absorb 5% of what you learn. Okay. And so that number starts to attribute and get higher and higher as the learning transitions and transpires. So if you're listening to a lecture, it's 5%. It's 10% from what you read. So that's why when you're reading these reports and articles, you're like, I still don't understand what the hell's going on. You're only going to retain 10% of what you read. All right. This is science. 20% from what you learn in an audio visual, which is why a lot of times like YouTube videos and stuff can be helpful. 30% of what you see in a demonstration. So if you watch me plug in a cable to the PC, into the server, set things up in a demonstration, that could be 30% of what you learn, or what you retain of what you learn. 50%, now that's pretty significant. That's half of what you learn you're going to retain of when engaged in a group discussion, similar to what we have here. Okay. And it goes to 75% on what you retain, on what you learn when you practice what you learn. Okay. And up to 90% of what you learn, you'll retain when you use it immediately or teach somebody else. So, Tor, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to write your advisory, and then I want you to record a video of you walking through an advisory on what these important sections of this report. Think of the context, go through each section and what it is. So write your report. Now that you have a little bit more clear understanding on how to do it, what we're looking for, what's important, if you come across something you don't know or understand, GPT it. We used to say, a couple years ago, Google it, Google it. People were so afraid to Google it, and people were so lazy, they never Googled it, right? People are just afraid to Google something and actually find out the answer. But now we say GPT it. We say, use AI. So GPT, whatever it is that if you're not familiar with NetScaler or a CVE or a product or a vendor or whatever, APT, GPT it and write your report. Then what I want you to do after you write that report is I want you to then record a video of you walking through what steps you've taken and what you learned. That right there is going to reinforce the learning up to 90%, as opposed to what you're going to learn if you just watch Moise or me or somebody else write a report and you don't do anything else.
Right.
Okay.
That sounds awesome. I can do that.
I think that's going to be significant and substantial for you in regards to retaining the information.
Thank
you.
Because it's basically the who, what, where, why, and when. When you're
Exactly.
doing this.
It's called BLUF. Don't forget that acronym, BLUF, and that stands for bottom line up front. Not saying you're bluffing. It's bottom line up front. Okay, and the bottom line is that these frozen chocolate covered cherries are delicious.
Done some to me.
Questions?
No, it's I mean, I got it. When you are doing a call with me, I retain so much more information. I don't, no disrespect for Moise or anything, but I retain so much more information. You're really good at what you do, and you explained everything so much better.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know how you do it without looking at a piece of paper and going through this book and just say, this is what you have to do here.
Experience. Experience. Listen, if I got on a fishing boat with you and I ask you, Tor, can you show me how to tie a hook on this line? Like tie a line on this hook, right? You could probably do it. And I'm paraphrasing here, but like if it was something related to your area of expertise, your domain that you were doing for 30, 40 years, I mean, come on, my God, right? So I guess it's just a habit, from repetitions, putting your reps in. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, these guys didn't become the best players in the world because they did things, for a short period of time or when they felt like it. Kobe Bryant was up at 3 a.m. putting in 2 to 3 hours of work in before practice started, before he met guys in the gym to work out early, right? Michael Jordan missed 9,000 shots, right? So in order to be the best, you have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to put the time in and get your reps in. I attribute it to sports because, in order to be good at anything, you can't short yourself. So
practice.
That's it. In real estate, there's one word in real estate that rings bells, and it's location, location, location. In cybersecurity, it's experience, experience, experience. And to get that experience, you have to practice. You have to do. You have to execute, which is why I tell you guys, you need to put out content. You need to become a contributor. You need to create a community. You need to strengthen your ecosystem, because you are then putting yourself in a position to use what you're learning immediately and then teach others, which is going to allow you to transition and transform into an authority. It's science.
So what we should be doing every time we're working on a project, we should be practice, practice, practice. But we actually also should be recording a video of how of what we have done on this advisory or threat hunt
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
whatever it be done.
As long as you're sanitizing your reports, like I said, we're not revealing PII or CII, but the repetitions that come from you recording and giving an overview and summarizing what you did, that is your practice. That is what's going to reinforce the information that you're learning. That's why, Tor, I'm able to speak to this like just freestyling. I'm freestyling right now, and I can do this with my eyes closed, blindfolded, hanging upside down because I've done it so much. So I have in my mind the framework and the context on what's relevant, on what's important. I understand the vernacular and the verbs and the terminology. I know how to take technical information. I know how to translate it into human readable language that a stakeholder is going to understand. These are terms that you guys are just seeing for the first time. So you can't expect you to be that good and be able to do what I'm able to do at the speed I'm able to do it. So that's why I said we go over a threat hunt, we go over an advisory, we go over an investigation from a detection that triggered in our environment from cutting edge tools that you guys are using on a daily basis that recruiters are desperately looking for. Go ahead and create a video, sanitize the report, and walk us through the investigation. Because there's someone out there that's not going to know what you're talking about, and they're going to be intrigued. There's other people who are going to be like, wow, that guy has the skills that I'm looking for.
Right. Yeah. No, I was on LinkedIn here last week, and I came across a person that actually put together what's called a SOC analyst guide. And I thought, God, that is just amazing. So I started writing. I looked at it and I started writing everything down on paper. And I still have it on paper here today. And I go over it because I want to learn what all these terms are. And he had all these terms and what they meant, what they are. And I thought that was a very interesting guide that someone put together and put out there.
It is. That's awesome. And as a matter of fact, in our Google Drive, all right, I don't want you to fall out your chair, but in our Google Drive, we have created a cyber glossary where a lot of these tools, a lot of these acronyms and terms and verbs that you may have not come across are defined in that glossary. And so what I can do, am I still sharing my screen?
Yep, you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll go here into our Google Drive, and I'm going to go into this section right. Okay, so here.
Trying to find a glossary.
Yeah.
See.
I think I might have moved it. So let me just confirm before we have deck presentations. So there's a couple decks here that were created by previous students. We have an influencer list, cybersecurity influencer list. We have a movie list, and then
it's in runbooks. It's in runbooks.
It's in runbooks.
Yep.
Thank you, Jalen. So right here, number 7, we have a cyber glossary, which consists of terms and definitions. So this was curated a very long time ago, but it's still applicable now. Terms like malware, ransomware, phishing, cyber threat intelligence, spam, Trojan horse, spyware, a firewall, OSI model, farming, CIA triad, right? Insider threat, botnet, domain, DDoS, brute force attack, black hat hacker, right? Look at all of these different terms and definitions right here. Now, this isn't the most exciting, right? I'm not going to lie to you guys and say, guys, look how exciting it is to go through these terms. However, it's
something that I need to learn.
It's something you should familiarize yourself with.
Yes.
Right? because you'll see these terms in the advisory report or in a threat hunt or in a news or media article, and you'll understand exactly know what's going on.
Or during a job interview, someone's going to ask me what this term is.
Exactly. And this is one of the fastest ways where you can eliminate yourself from an opportunity by not knowing what what DNS is or what port it lives on. And it's not that important because people, but there are like a list of the most common ports, right? And there's like, I don't know, 20 or something of them that like you should really know just off the top of your head. Oh yeah, port 80 is HTTP, port 443 is HTTPS. All right, DNS is 53, DHCP 67 and 68, right? SSH is port 22 or 21, 22. But this is, again, my point. Within our drive, there's so many resources. I mean, look at this. You go back, we go into like, there's an influencer list of people, right? That was secure.
I think you're dead.
Uh-oh.
I think we lost.
I think his computer probably died because he kept checking it.
I think he did. I think his battery died.
Yeah.
We'll wait here for a few minutes, see if he comes back.
Sorry about
He
that.
probably will because he'll just plug it in.
Yep, definitely. My laptop died. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me?
Here we go.
Okay.
But he definitely explains things so much better. And I like I said, no disrespect to the most, but sometimes I have a hard time understanding him. But when I talk to William here, he explains things very, very well.
Well, I appreciate those compliments. I certainly do. But what I want you to do is I want you guys to ask questions. I guys to, before you ask questions, explore 1 or 2 avenues to find that question before you reach out. And that's not because I don't want to answer your question. That's not because. It's because when you get into an environment where you're working, you're going to quickly see how people get frustrated with people who don't try to help themselves or don't have, let's say, they're not, or they're capable, but they don't do their own, they don't come to their own rescue before asking for help, because people are they're juggling 4 or 5 different things. They're doing their normal responsibilities, plus an ask of their manager, plus they're fighting a deadline on a project, plus they're dealing with hiccups from the client, right? So the last thing that someone wants to do is answer a minuscule question that could have been easily, answered by a Google search or a GPT prompt, right? If it's like, hey, I can't figure out how to get this, file to upload on Google Drive. Something that's that simple, like at least have, 1 or 2 different, methods or means that you've taken that failed before you come and ask for help. That's just a rule of thumb for anything in life, not this just program, not just cybersecurity, in life. Because if you don't have the will to do that, you're not going to be successful in anything. Because it's the people who try to help themselves first and who don't just rely on someone to do the work for them that are going to be the most successful, right? Nobody likes someone who just doesn't want to help themselves. They're actually the most painful people to try to help, right? Does that make sense? I see Tor drop. Can you hear me, Jalen?
Yeah, I get you.
Okay.
That makes sense. Make a whole lot of sense.
Cool. Any questions that you have for me? I know it's been a lot of information, but any questions that you have for me?
No questions.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just make you the host for a second, but okay, cool. So this is what I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on getting that content out as soon as possible.
Sure.
Post something. I want to see you post something tonight. I want to see you post something tomorrow, because you're hoarding content, bro. You're hoarding your greatness. And if you hoard your greatness, right? And I gotta say this to you, speakers, right? Right now, you're hoarding your greatness. And when you hoard your greatness, then what you're doing is the universe is going to delay the gratification. And that's going to be your own fault because the world doesn't know that you exist. The world doesn't know what you're doing and what you're capable of because you're hoarding your greatness. So you're not allowing for a recruiter, a hiring manager, or a company to know that you're the person for the job. So you're delaying and you're sabotaging your own growth and evolution by hoarding your own greatness. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So you gotta take action, bro. You gotta execute. The 5E formula for success. I don't say it just to hear myself speak. Exposure, which you've been exposed. You've been educated. Execution, 75% of people fail, and I think this is where you're kind of falling into that trap, right? By not executing on some of the things that you're doing. You're doing it, but part of the execution is again reinforcing that by putting out content, showing the world what you're working on, so that you can be discovered. Okay. 50 Cent said it in a song. He said, "I'm a diamond in the dirt that ain't been found. I'm the and I ain't been crowned." So crowned because you're not allowing yourself to experience greatness. All right. The fourth element in that equation or in that formula for success is what? Evolution. You started, you've been evolving, right? You've been transforming, right? But you know you can do more. You know I can get more out of you. And those four and what are 5E formula for success. All right. Don't wait to be great, bro. You got to be legendary now.
Sure.
All right. So I think Tor dropped. I know we're a little, I would say we're good for time tonight. So if there's no other questions, I'll give you some time back to start working on the stuff. I don't want to go through another threat hunt right this moment. If you guys got other things to be doing, that's way more value. I feel like the last thing you need right now is another threat hunt when you got so much content hoarded up in your inventory that you could be using to start marketing and putting content out. So many different ways. Like we talked about this. There's so many different ways to put out meaningful content. So I want to hear, before we get off this call, what your go-to strategy and call to action is for getting this content out.
You said you said my go-to strategy?
Yeah, like what's your strategy for the next 24 hours? Like what type of content are you going to be putting out? And if you don't know, let's talk about it now.
I really been wanting to put out this case report that I've been working on for the past 2 weeks. Wow.
You just said it. You said I've really been wanting to put out. So what's stopping you? What's stopping you from putting out this report? What's stopping you from getting on your phone? I don't know. Do you have an iPhone or do you have an Android?
I have an iPhone.
Oh man, this is easy because it's not even that difficult. So if you have an iPhone, right, what's stopping you from doing a screen recording, pulling up the report on your phone, pulling up the PDF, and then doing a screen recording of that PDF and just literally talking through it? All you need to do is literally talk through, right? Do a screen recording and talk through the report. Once you do that, now you're not going to capture the audio, but what you're going to do is you're going to give yourself essentially like a 2 minutes of runway that after you record that screen recording, you're then going to, as a matter of fact, scratch what I just said, because it's easier than what I was just describing. On your phone, when you initiate the screen recording, there's an option for you to record audio and screen record. So this is what I want you to do. Are you on your phone right now or are you on your laptop right now?
I'm on my laptop, but my phone's in my hand.
Okay. What I want you to do is on your phone, I want you to, on the top of your screen towards the right, I want you to swipe down and swipe down again. So Swipe down to where you can see the control menu, where like you can see like your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, your flashlight. I want you to pull up that control panel. Let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
Okay. In the bottom left-hand corner, next to the battery, underneath the flashlight, you should see there is a record button. Do you see that? That you're going to hold down. When you hold that down, you're going to be prompted to screen record, where you're going to have the recording go and be saved in your photos. Do you see that check mark that's literally on the same line as your photos?
Yeah, I see it.
Now, at the bottom of the screen, you see it says Microsoft off, Microsoft on. It says microphone off by default.
I see it.
Right. If you toggle that and you toggle it on, it's going to turn the microphone to red. And then it's going to say microphone on. All you need to do is hit start recording on your screen. And when you hit start recording on your screen, what's going to happen is your phone is going to start screen recording in 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to see a red dot appear. And now anything that you have on your screen, like for example, right now I'm screen recording this conversation. Anything that you have on your screen is going to be captured. So all you need to do is pull up the PDF report, enable screen recording with audio. And if you want to do a dry run first, where you're just talking out loud, literally all you're doing, bro, is reading the report on your screen. And what that's going to do is going to allow you to speak through your report, so you can gauge what things you want to say and what things you want to skim over. And then it's going to leave you with a 2 or 3 minute video, so that you know, okay, this is 2 to 3 minutes of me going through this report that now you can go ahead and post, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording. All I'm going to do is literally touch the screen, hit in the top of the screen, that little red dot, and then I'm going to hit stop. So just now I recorded a whole minute of me walking you through that process and of us on this Zoom, right? So right there is one way that you can literally just take that report on your phone and go through it. Now, how do you make it more interactive? Well, I'm glad you asked. If you don't want to screen record with the microphone on, like I just showed you how to do, by default, it's going to be off. So you can screen record and not capture your voice and still get the, read through it like you would if you were capturing your voice. But however, you're not going to capture your voice. It'll literally just be a screen recording of the page scrolling on your report. Are you following me?
Yeah, I'm following.
That's where you put your thumb on the microphone on off.
Correct. So once you record that screen recording of you scrolling through your report as you're reading out loud, but you're not capturing your audio, after you capture that screen recording, or 2 or 3 minutes, however long it took you to go through your report, you're going to take that video, and then you're going to go ahead on Instagram, which I know you have because we follow each other, and you're going to create a reel. And how you do that is you literally go to Instagram, you literally select reel. You click directly, immediately to the right of the default screen is a green screen, a green guy. You should be doing this while we're on the phone. And if you click that green screen guy, now you're going to literally have, you're going to see a little you, you're going to see yourself, an avatar with a green screen. You're then going to choose the background that you want to put yourself, that you want behind you as your background, which is going to be the screen recording you just recorded. So now you're going to select the screen recording, and now you have a screen recording behind you, and you can shrink yourself to put yourself in like a little corner, right? Where you can literally put yourself in the bottom right of the screen, and now you can literally hit record, and you can literally start talking about your video. Be like, hey guys, check out this screen recording that I just did. That is an overview of my cyber advisory report from our VSOC incubator program. I've been using SOCBite, which is a SOAR platform, to help our case ticketing, blah, blah, blah. This adversary was APT 28, and they're based out of Russia, and blah, 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 and they're targeting the Citrix server, and the vulnerability was at level 10, and this is what it was impacting. This is the affected the products, and blah, blah, blah. So for more tips, for more insights on how to become a SOC analyst and what we're doing, make sure you give me a follow, like, and comment your thoughts. I would love to hear what you guys are working on. Make sure you follow me at Jalen Livingston, the Cyber Genius on YouTube, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Mm-hmm.
You just did it. So do me a favor.
Wait, can you show me how did you screen record your face again?
Okay,
I know how to do it,
you're
but
gonna go on your phone right now. You're gonna join this meeting, and then you're gonna share your screen on your phone.
okay. So, joining right now on my phone.
Recording in progress.
I did the same thing.
You're you have double audio, so you just need to mute yourself. Thank you. All right.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you.
All right.
So what I want you to do is I want you to allow yourself to screen share. So on your laptop, since you're the host, you have to allow screen sharing for everybody on the laptop, multiple participants. And then on your phone, I want you to hit share. Okay. And then you'll say screen. Capiche?
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it. All right. So what did you ask? What did you ask for help with?
See, I have the screen recorder right here. I just did a random screen recording. And
All right, cool. All right, so you know how to do the screen recording. So now what I want you to do, exit out here, and I want you to go to post a reel and move me out the way. I'm on the bottom of your screen, just slide my face. There we go. So now hit that X in the top left. And now hit the X again in the top left. And now what I want you to do is hit the plus sign in the bottom middle.
Right.
The plus sign in the bottom middle.
Oh, okay, okay.
And now I want you to hover over reel, the bottom middle. Okay. Now, actually, do it a different way because I just want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Hit the X and hit the home button. All right. Now take your finger and swipe to the right. The other right. Like I don't want to be in your DM. I want to be in the like.
I don't text somebody on here anyway.
Huh?
I said I don't text anybody on here anyway, so you good.
No, you're good. I'm just saying this is what I want to see. So now, hit reel now. All right. So to the right, do you see a green screen option? It looks like yours might be in a different order than mine based on utilization. So you like to be the hamburger man, but oh, right there, green screen. See that in the middle?
That's it.
Select green screen. There we go. Okay, cool. So look, now you have yourself an avatar. Now you've kind of created your own avatar. It's loading, it's loading, it's loading. Give it a second. Boom. So now Jalen's an avatar, and now you can take your background and make it whatever you want. So select the first thing, and now shrink yourself. So pinch yourself, put yourself, make it a little smaller, and put you in the bottom, like put yourself in like the bottom right-hand corner. Nice and neat. There you go. So now all you got to do is literally hit the green button in the middle. Like hit that green button in the middle, the circle. at the bottom. All right, guys, my name is Jalen Livingston, and in this video, I'm walking you through my SockBite incident report where I conducted a threat hunt on this APT28. All right, so this is what we happened. This is what we did. This is why I'm going to go viral, because I'm finally going to start listening to Will and posting content that's engaging and that's interactive, because I've been doing this for 3 to 6 months now. I really got a grip on it, but no one knows I exist because I live under a rock, just like Patrick the starfish in SpongeBob Bikini Bottom. And so no one knows how great I am or that the reason why I exist. So I'm going to keep on making these really cool videos from now on. I want you guys to give me a follow and share with me what you're doing to learn about cybersecurity on a daily basis. Until next time, guys, peace. Hit the stop button. And then you're going to hit next.
Like so stupid.
There you go. So
All
now,
right.
now you can add a little bit of music if you want to add a little background music, but you don't have to get too fancy. Again, just cut that out. I don't want you trying to be. Look, Tor has a twin. Look, Tor has a twin. He has a twin who's sitting in the chair with the San Francisco banner and a blue shirt, and then look, someone else is on a phone and it looks like it's a green shirt.
Mhm.
So with that, it's so funny because in these two angles, it literally looks like a different person. It looks like a different person. Um, Literally, we got two tours. But no, does that make sense, Jalen?
High five.
Got it, Jalen?
Uh-huh. I got
Am I
you.
gonna start to see content, Jalen?
Yep.
And then you post this on Instagram and you post this on, most importantly, I want you posting it on YouTube and I want you, and more importantly, on LinkedIn. Obviously, you can still post it on Instagram if you want, but like recruiters aren't going on LinkedIn. I mean, on Instagram for real.
Right.
But I think on all platforms is your best bet. Cool. So,
Oops.
so we got over that hump.
Yep.
And we got Tor over his hump. All right. So we're not going to go over any threat hunts tonight because I think it's way more important for you guys to start working on content. Tor, you have a report to start writing. I know you're going to go through that, then record that. So I want to give you guys the time to work on that, honestly. You know, the work isn't going anywhere, but I need you guys to make sure that you're doing what you need to do on the back end to get the visibility. Tor, how are you doing with the videos? Did you complete all the videos and the onboarding?
Not yet. I'm still going through all of them.
All right, make sure you complete those onboarding videos within the next 2 weeks. Let's try to get those done. I also want you to, how's the LinkedIn connections coming along?
I got over 500.
Perfect. So now this is where it really starts to get interesting because now your profile is complete, right? But I want the content, right? It's boring when you just come across a GPT post of here are the 5 things. Everyone's doing that, right?
Right.
Put yourself out there, be vulnerable, be creative, and watch how you start to get a lot more engagement. I went silent for a while. My engagement used to be through the roof. My engagement used to be through the absolute roof. So now I'm starting to pick up my content, right? Now I'm starting to post more. But to be honest with you, my audience is all recruiters. So I don't really care because everybody in my audience is like thousands of recruiters. But I still want to start to increase my productivity and the people that I'm interacting with and get more people in the program because I believe in this program and I think you all do too. But it's not a cut and dry, just, you know, you sign up today and you get a job on, you know, sign up on Tuesday, get a job on Wednesday. There's a process, there's a workflow, there's a framework. And a huge part of it falls on you guys to really start to contribute and highlight what you're doing, which is why I'm like, look, we're not doing any work tonight in regards to a threat hunt because there's so much shit in the queue that we could be leveraging and working on. So that's why I want you guys to focus on that for the remainder of the night and for the, you know, this moving forward. Jalen, how is the job search tracker coming along? Again, the content, all that stuff is going to help with that because again, you want to not just be the job search tracker is your outbound traffic. That's you actually being proactively and strategically applying for jobs. Okay, great. But the content is going to translate to inbound leads. That conversation I had the other day that I just posted, I'm going to be posting part 2. Keep an eye out for it. And make sure you guys are commenting and liking on each other's stuff. And I appreciate that same thing in return because I think it could help people. But that's how you're going to be able to generate inbound leads. The inbound leads get generated from your profile and the content that you post. That's how you get inbound traffic. People seeing your profile, visiting, following you, connecting with you, recruiters wanting to reach out because you have all of the filters turned on in the appropriate manner so that they know that you're looking for work. And then they come to your profile, they see that you're an authority, you're an active contributor, it's a polished profile, you look like a polished professional, you look like you know what you're talking about, you actually do know what you're talking about because you're actually doing the job. That's how you get a job. All right. I shared a post in the chat the other day. Did any one of you read it? From my friend Tom.
I don't know if I read that one there or not.
No,
I think I read it.
I don't post this shit for my own well-being.
I gotta go back to slide. Let me see.
That
I
guy
think I read
that
it.
posted is one of the top headhunters in the country. He's a headhunter. He's a headhunter, which is different than a recruiter. He's targeting people on like up to $1 million salary for roles that he has at like NVIDIA and different clients. He's the top of the top. And he reached out to me 6 months ago, I want to say. I don't remember specifically, maybe a year ago. And we had a call, 30-minute call, which is rare to get a guy like that. And he was asking me if I was interested in any roles or if I knew anyone that was in my network. Again, these are roles that like they're not entry level roles. These are senior roles where the $250,000 in compensation and up. So I can't just send him someone who's 3 months in, right? And you know, he'd know, you know, in a heartbeat that that person's not qualified. But what he shared in that post, and if you guys want to read it real quick, he was saying that the people who he's looking for are people who are actively doing the job, who are contributing, and that haven't had a chance to even update their LinkedIn profile because they're so busy doing the job and doing the work, right? Now, that may seem like a contradiction based upon what I tell you guys, but if you think about his logic, it kind of makes sense, right? A top engineer at Tesla probably isn't going to be too active on LinkedIn. One, because it's, you know, privacy, confidential. Like, you know, when you get to a certain level, you know, you're a target for cyber criminals, right? Let's be real. So a lot of times, some of the most technical people in the world don't even have social media, and it might be even a conflict or against their company policy to have social media post certain things because they're a huge target. In cyber, we call them whales. So whaling is just like fishing, but except you're targeting, you know, senior vice presidents and you know, VIPs, right? And so the people who he's looking for are people who are so busy that they don't even have time to update their LinkedIn profile. Those are the people he wants to speak to. Now, how do you get to that point? Well, you got to go through the phases and put the work in. That's why time in the market actually matters, which is why I have you guys doing these things in the first place. Because you don't go from, you know, guppy to whale overnight. You don't go from goldfish to shark overnight. So to become that, you know, VIP person, you got to put your time in. You got to start strengthening your community, your ecosystem, and the hygiene amongst your peers, even if it's your neighbor, your mom, your dad, the janitor at your school or the office that you work at, right? You need to be helping contribute to the greater good of cybersecurity awareness and education. And how you're going to do that is through this content, is through, right, providing high level overviews of the work that we're doing, the reports, the threat hunts, the advisories, and being able to contribute on a daily basis so that you can become an authority, or how we like to say in our program, in our world, a Scytharity. All right. All right. So if there's nothing else, I want to leave you guys the last 30 minutes to work on yourself and to get yourself, you know, some content, the reports, whatever you guys need. If you need me, reach out to me. Tor, I didn't forget about the recordings. I'm having some issues with the Zoom just because we have.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm sure you'll get them to me when you can. It's no big deal.
I'll circle back and try to get them to you. I can do that. I can probably do that by the end of this week.
All right, no problem. No problem at all. Hey, quick question. When you are doing like if I'm doing a recording and I want to upload it to one of the social media apps, there's a cap of 50 megabytes. And don't know if that was with YouTube or Instagram. So in your phone, you have to adjust the settings towards not on the best settings for when you're making a video. So the video will be smaller.
Well, what I want you guys to keep in mind is that what's more important than Instagram is going to be LinkedIn. And so
Right.
I want you to prioritize LinkedIn and YouTube over Instagram, just because like the eyes that matter most are going to be looking at LinkedIn and on Instagram.
Right.
Excuse me,
Okay.
LinkedIn and YouTube. Your recruiters and companies are rarely going to look at, your Instagram unless they're just, it's a part of your background check and they're making sure that you're not putting up signs, stuff on your social media of like hate speech and, just posting, wild things. But for the most part, I think the most important social media platform to appeal to is going to be LinkedIn and YouTube.
Okay.
And you should be able to post a significant amount of content in terms of length on YouTube, and within LinkedIn, you just got to make sure you look at the the parameters in regards to sizing and whatnot, but it should be pretty similar.
Okay.
Right. And again, people aren't like, the long form content's for YouTube. The long form content, 30 minutes, 2 hours, that stuff, then you can then shorten and pull snippets and post those on Shorts, post those on LinkedIn. Because let's be honest, if you post a huge paragraph from ChatGPT on like 10 things, right? People aren't really spending that much time. Like it's like a recruiter. The average recruiter spends 6 seconds on your resume before they decide to put you in the left or the right pile. Left pile is no callback, you're ghosted. The right pile is you get an initial phone screen. So on average, they're going to spend 6 seconds, which is why your resume shouldn't be more than one page unless you have over 10 plus years of experience. So within those 6 seconds, they're looking at your headline, your introductory summary bio, your professional experience, your certifications to see if you size up for the JD, right? So you have 6 seconds to make an impression on them. Same thing goes for your LinkedIn feed and any videos that you post on YouTube. Is people lose their attention span pretty quickly. So just keep that in mind, right? You want your content to be impactful, you want it to be engaging, and you want to be excited. So just keep that in mind when you're posting content, and know that every single comment is content. Remember that. I told you guys this a while back. Comments are content. Comments are content. So when you post on my story or when you post on a comment on my post, just know that whatever you say is going to be seen by hundreds, potentially thousands of people. So that's why comments are content. If you just post a generic way to go, or good job or nice, like that
Yeah.
doesn't serve anyone any good. It's nice to get a comment, don't get me wrong, but nobody's going to come across your post. You've seen it, right? You can see when someone's commented on something.
Mm-hmm.
So no one's going to come across your comment and on the post and be like, wow, Jalen and their authority, they know what they're talking about. Nice, right? They're not going to they're going to scroll right past your comment and they're not even going to like your comment. However, if you commented on something that was worth someone pinning, that's going to get a lot of attention. Or if you comment on a post that adds value, that someone's going to see like, oh wow, that was a smart thing to say. I didn't even know that, but I like what that guy just said. Let me give him a connection. Let me give him a follow. Or a recruiter. Wow, that guy seems like, let me see who this guy told. Well, wow, he's actually a cybersecurity professional, and wow, his page looks pretty good. He's actively contributing. Let me give him a connection. Hey, Tori, you in the market looking for a job? I have a SOC analyst role, right? You see how that goes? So
Yeah.
comments are content. All right, guys. Any other questions before we wrap it?
Nope.
All right. All right. Don't be discouraged. Do not sell yourself short. Do not count yourself out. Head up, chest out, confidence, or hang this shit up. Do not disqualify yourself before you even have an opportunity to learn about the position. All right. And that's what we have a habit of doing, is we have a tendency to overestimate our opponent or the person who's sitting in front of us capability and diminish our own. Never do that. Never do that. Be overconfident, believe in yourself, because the work you're doing is great and you deserve for them to be afforded the next opportunity. All right. See you guys on the other side. If you need anything, hit me in the chat. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. Happy to help.
Hey, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Content. Have a good night, y'all.
Appreciate it, William. Good night.
Good night.